Hey, my name is Jamie Arndt, and in today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to play the changes over a 2-5-1 progression by targeting the thirds of each chord, and we're going to do this in 3 easy steps. So it's super important, particularly in jazz, to have your lines reflect the sound of the chord changes. So what you play actually means something and relates to the song as opposed to just playing one scale through the entire thing. Today, we're going to look at a specific formula targeting just the thirds of each of the chords in a 2-5-1. Thirds are a great way to bring out the sound of your chord because the third determines whether a chord is major or minor. And when we play a 2-5-1, say in the key of B flat, we have a 2 chord that's minor, C minor 7. We have a 5 chord that's dominant. And we have a 1 chord that's major, right? Major 7. Step 1, locate the thirds. So let's start out just by identifying the thirds of each of these chords. The third of C minor 7 is E flat, the third of F is A, and the third of B flat major 7 is D. Here's my C minor 7 with the third. Here's my F7 with the third. And my B flat major 7 with the third. So if I play these notes over the changes, you'll hear they fit. It's not going to sound like a guitar solo, but you'll hear how my single note line fits over each of the chords because I'm literally playing a chord tone right out of the chord, and a very important one at that. Check it out. All right, so I'm playing an E flat over the C minor, an A over the F7, and a D over the B flat major 7. And in this example, I decided I'm going to start with this third. I'm going to go up for the third of my 5 chord and back down for the third of my 1 chord. Step 2, adding enclosures with chromaticism. Now to make this sound a little more interesting and a little more idiomatically correct, I'm going to do something called an enclosure. An enclosure is when we target the tone that we want to land on or highlight the sound of the chord using chromaticism by playing notes that happen above the note we want to land on, then below, and then ultimately into that note. So what we're going to do over this C minor 7 chord is an enclosure that sounds like this. So I'm starting on the 10th fret of the G string, that's an F, then an E natural, that's the major third, we definitely don't want that. That's on the 9th fret of the G string, then the D that's on the 7th fret of the G string, ultimately into that flatted third. And there's my target tone. So I'm playing some scale tones. I'm playing some tones that are chromatic, that don't belong in the key. They're just passing notes. But in doing so, I highlight that sound because the ear kind of follows that contour. So then when I want to go to my F7 chord, there's the third. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the third now of F7. So here's the note we're looking for. This is an A that's on the 10th fret of the B string, but we're going to start our little enclosure by playing the 11th fret of the B string, that's a B flat, and then drop down to the 8th fret, that's a G, then walk up chromatically G, A flat, A. So we get this. And that's going to highlight the sound of our F7. And then our B flat major 7, this is our third, it's a D. We're going to use the same fingering, but we're just going to highlight this D now, that's the third. So we're going to start on the 8th fret of the G string, that's an E flat, drop down to a C on the 5th fret, then D flat, that's the 6th fret, into D natural, that's our third. So once again, that's in the key, that's in the key, that's not in the key, but it takes us chromatically into the note we need. And by the way, this enclosure is going to start on the and of 3, which means we'll be able to hit our chord tone on beat 1 when the progression starts. So we start this as a pickup measure. So we'll count it in a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So we hit that chord tone, that target note on beat 1. So if we play over the changes using just enclosures, it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3. Here it is again. So as you heard, that sounds a little more interesting. It definitely is starting to sound a little more musical, but it's pretty predictable. Da 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 da. Right? It's the same rhythm, it's the same pattern. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep these enclosures in place, but we're going to fill out the space by adding some other notes, some more chromaticism, and some triplets and other rhythms that are going to make it rhythmically more interesting to listen to. So we'll get something like this. A 1 and 2 and 3. All right, so what's going on here? We start out with that enclosure, targeting the third, and then we play some notes right out of our C minor chord that we're playing over. Right, that's the fifth of the chord, G. There's our flat 7, B flat. There's our ninth, D. There's our root, C. There's our flat 7, B flat again. And then we walk up chromatically 8, 9, 10 on the B string. And by the way, I'm adding in an eighth note triplet. This is something very common in bebop, something you hear players like Charlie Parker use to break up constant eighth notes. So it sounds like a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and triplet 3 and 4 and 1. Now we're going to start our enclosure of the F7. Right? C minor, F7. And now I'm just going to do some chromatic walking down. Right? Those frets, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And then I'm going to do my enclosure of B flat major. So the formula basically is we have our enclosure of the third of C minor, a couple scale tones of C minor, an enclosure of the third of F7, some chromaticism, our enclosure of B flat major 7, targeting that third. And when you put it all together, you get this. 1, 2, and 3. If you'd like a transcription of this with tab and standard notation, you can get the PDF over at my Patreon page, where members get access to transcriptions from my YouTube and Instagram lesson videos, as well as exclusive video lessons, monthly Zoom Q&A group classes, and a lot more. All right, let's do another example. We're still going to target the thirds in this case. We're just going to do them in a different place on the neck. So let's say I want this to have a climbing kind of feel. I'm going to do my E flat. There's the third of C minor. I'm going to do it here on the 6th fret of the A string. Then I'm going to do my third of F. That's an A natural on the 7th fret of the D string. And then I'm just going to hop right over here to the 7th fret of the G string. That's the third of my B flat major 7. So if I play just the thirds with the track, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's get those enclosures. For E flat, it's going to be this. There's my E flat. That's the flatted 3 of C minor 7. Frets on the A string are A, 7, 5, 6. Here's my target enclosure for the third of F7, which is an A. D string, those frets are 8, 5, 6, 7. And then it's the same fret numbers on the G string to target that D natural. So if we play that with the changes, you'll hear, once again, there's a bit of a predictability here, but we are targeting those thirds. So now let's do exactly what we did in the last example. Fill out the space in between our enclosures with some triplets and play a line like this. So we're going to go There's our enclosure. And then we're gonna play some chord tones of C minor 7. G, the 5th, B flat, the flatted 7th. That's on the 5th fret and 8th fret of the D string. And then here is the 9th of C minor. D, 7th fret of the G string. There's our root, 5th fret of the G string. And then now we're gonna do our enclosure of F. And we're gonna do a similar little thing over the F7. C, that's the 5th of F7. E flat, that's the flatted 7. Now we're gonna hit this 7th fret of the B string. That's the flatted 9th for extra tension over that 5 chord. If you want to learn more about flat 9s and altered tones, check out my altered tone and tension scale videos. I'll link those below as well. So check those out when you're done watching this video. And then from that flat 9, we'll play the root of our F7, 6th fret here on the B string, that's an F, and then we'll play our enclosure of B flat when we land on the B flat major 7. So the lick with the backing sounds like this. 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3. Here it is again. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.